Good evening, all. We're back with a win, and Charlie is back on the show when we've won as well, so she can't say that she only comes on when we lose, because we've actually got a win to talk about. 4 goals as well, which is not... I can't remember the last time we actually... Brighton, but not so long back, actually. I was trying to think it was probably before then. It wasn't actually that long ago, was it? It was within the same month, but it felt like a lot longer. Anyway, we'll get into all that. Obviously, we'll do the game in chronological order like we always do, so we'll get the negatives out of the way first this time, because usually it's the other way around. Usually we start really well and drop off and end up losing the game. This time, completely the other way. Didn't go too well in the first half, but complete turn it around in the second. So we've got all of those things to get through, to get you commenting, all of that kind of thing. Barry's got some tweets that he put out earlier that he wants to come back to at the end of the show, which some of you have already referenced in the comments. And Mark's already in there. I don't reckon this conversation happened, to be honest. I know that at least 3 of you in the chat that are currently watching were stood next to me when I said it, but I don't think so. Anyway, I don't even know. I'm dreading it because my any street cred that I've got is just going to be gone by the end of this show with some of the revelations that people found out yesterday. Anyway, Mary, coming to you first, as we always do. The lineup then. We knew Jade was going to be out. I can't remember what you guys said on Saturday in terms of what you wanted or expected for the lineup. Not going to lie, I thought Guerrero might have been starting because she was on the poster that United put out in the morning, and usually that means that player is starting. She wasn't. It's the same team that we've seen in the last kind of couple of weeks. Are you happy, surprised? But obviously Mannion at right back, which we'll get into in more detail later on. But yeah, was that kind of what you thought, expected it to be?
I mean, obviously the big question was going to be the defence, wasn't it? I think looking at the team in general, you could have picked probably 9 or 10 of them without there being too much of a drama. The big issue was always going to be who played right back. We all know who I would have put at right back. Ethan Mannion went to right back. I rolled my eyes when I saw the team and just went, typical Skinner. Fair play to her. She stepped up. She played well. Didn't do a bad job at all, Ethan Mannion. So, he kind of got away with that in this moment. But no, I still wasn't happy. I still felt like we were pushing square pegs into round holes again. But yeah, you can't really argue with the team at the end of it. But certainly it wasn't ideal to begin with. So yeah, not too bad. Pretty good team in general. Yeah, I think really what we expected, Galton and Miyazawa to be on the bench, when we expected either of them to start. So yeah, I'd have gone with that, I think.
No, I think that's pretty fair. Charlie, I'll come to you, and then Kerry's just following straight on it. In terms of the lineup, again, any surprises, or is that kind of what you thought he'd go for in the end?
Yeah, it's what I was expecting. Sort of echoing Barry a little bit, really. Just really pleased to see Ethan Mannion get a start. I think it might be her first start in the league in almost like a year or something like that, maybe her first 90. I thought she was really good. Opposite to someone's put a comment about her being really slow, whereas before the show, I'm sure I was saying to you, like, I thought you forgot how quick she was. But yeah, it was really nice to see her. I think she did a good job at right back. So I would probably expect to see her there again after the international break. But yeah, I think you could pick the lineup every week now. We know what it's going to be, in spite of the opposition or the competition.
Oh, sorry, I thought Connor was gonna egg me on then. Yeah, no, I agree. It's obviously you can say consistent or you can say predictable in terms of the lineup, and there's potentially a bit of both. I think the difference is last year we obviously had the consistency in lineup, but we were getting the results with it as well. Whereas this season's been more hit and miss. In terms of Mannion at right back, something we don't really say that often on this show, but to be fair to Mark Skinner, we were talking about sort of, he always talks about there's stuff that happens in training that you don't see, and then I make my decisions based on that. Maybe the decision to kind of play Mannion at right back as opposed to, I guess, pushing Letitia out wide would have been maybe that was something that he saw based on training. And to be fair to him, it worked well. So I think it's good that we've got that little bit more flexibility at the back, considering the fact that our right back is perpetually injured. So yeah, I thought, wasn't surprised by the team, but pleased with Mannion's performance. Thought it went well.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. We'll definitely dive into Aoife Mannion at right back a little bit more as we go on. And obviously, she's going to be on the player of the match poll, spoiler alert for that one. So we'll come to her in more detail in just a second. Right, Barry, we'll start with the first half then. Usually, this is the other way around. Usually, we're complaining about the second half and the drop off. And I've left that comment on the screen. Yes, Vic, there will be some Toone hype. Don't you worry. She got 2 goals and she did it right. So, yes, we're patience. We'll get there. There'll be plenty of that, I'm sure. But Barry, yeah, that first half, just, I mean, I don't even know how to summarize it. Should we just start with the opening bit and their goal? Because, again, it's come from us kind of messing around a little bit at the back. And, you know, obviously the blame, I guess you kind of have to look to Maya on this one. You know, she'll know that, and I'm sure on that one. But it's not the first time we've done this, where we've played out from the back, causing our own problems and those kinds of errors. But, yeah, how would you summarize the opening? I'll say 20 minutes, or if you want to do the whole half, you know, in full, you can do.
I can do. You keep interrupting me, Colin. I'm still very busy at the moment preparing something very interesting that I'm hoping everybody's going to love and has taken 5 hours of my life. And you keep coming to me to ask me these.
I can come to you last if you want.
As if I'm on a show where you expect me to give my opinion. It's just unacceptable, really. But there he is. So I just think it was pony, wasn't it? There's no other way to put it. And the graphics that I've got and that I'm going to share with you all very shortly just shows it all. The difference between the first half and the second half. It's mad. It's actually mad how different it is. The play that we were doing in the first half was all in our own half. We weren't getting the ball forward. It was tippy-tappy, ridiculous rubbish that we shouldn't have been playing. It's taken me 4 hours to watch this 90-minute game, doing what I'm doing. And all I could see from that first half is just balls going across the back, Aoife passing to Maya passing to Millie passing to Hannah passing to Mary to Millie. And honestly, the amount of passes that were going on in that back line, absolutely mental. It's no surprise that we didn't get ourselves forward. It's no surprise that we didn't have the chance to go and score a goal. It was horrific, absolutely horrific. And people are going to have a go at Maya, and they're right to do so because it was an atrocious pass. But equally, the passes out from the back didn't need to happen in the first place. Mary, I presume by being told to do so, passing the ball out from the back in the manner that she did. Hannah ends up passing it back to Millie. Millie's got nobody on her, but then she just sees somebody coming. And rather than giving it back to Mary, which would have been the sensible one, she went, oh, look, there's Maya Letizia. Oh, and she's got a little friend next to her. We'll give it to her. So now Maya's panicking a bit because she's been passed the ball while she's in trouble. So then Maya passes the ball back, you know, the sort of way that I would really, you know, under pressure. It wasn't a great ball back at all. And then obviously, you know, the striker's in and around the goalie. And the bit that's really frustrating then about all of that is that Mary then gets herself up and proceeds to blame every other member of the defence rather than herself. And I was quite pleased because Karma hit back a little bit later when she tried to give the ball back to Maya Letizia and she managed to shank it as well. So, I mean, it was just one of the worst halves. I thought Man United Brentford was bad. And then the girls went, hang on, hold my beer, and then gave it a go for the first. It was horrible. Horrible.
It was certainly not an enjoyable watch. I mean, there's some interesting comments here. Jess wanted to be here, but she's still dancing next to me. Sarah. Yes, if people haven't watched, go onto the Awful Women's Football channel. There's a vlog of yesterday's game. It's brilliant. You get to see our halftime reaction. There was no reaction. We didn't even say anything. Me and Jess. So you get to go and see that. But yeah, I can't repeat half of what we said in that first half, to be honest, because it was awful. You know, Ella's saying their first half was a joke. 7 shots, none of them were on target. We must have had one on target because Jace went straight down the middle.
It was 8-1 on target, I think.
There we go. And that was the word. I'll come to that separately because that really infuriated me. Anyway, Charlie, what went so wrong in that first half? And I said the goal itself. Obviously, Barry's pointed out there. The passing out from the back is, we've said this in numerous times, and the reason why I bring this up and not just solely putting it on Maya anyway, but we saw this we've seen this in pretty much every game. In this game alone, in the second half, this happened. We were trying to play it out from the back, and we nearly got caught again. So it's like, I don't know why the insistent on keep doing this when we're conceding goals from it on the regular and just giving away so many chances.
Yeah, just dead one-dimensional, aren't we? Like we've talked about other coaches saying that we're really easy to set up against, and that'll be because we're one-dimensional, and it's almost a pig-headedness, isn't it? Is we're gonna play it out from Mary to the centre backs no matter what happens. I think for the goal, the shape was all wrong. Our defensive line, the shape was wrong. There were like 3 or 4 Everton players between our midfield and our defence as well. So it's going to be really hard for the players, the defensive line, trying to be in a straight line to play the ball out. It wasn't going to work, was it? So the goal was dreadful, and we could have been 2 or 3 down. I think Cool, I think that's how you say it. Apologies if it's not. Hit the post. Mary had a nightmare with another pass. I don't know what was going on there. Just passed it straight to her, and luckily her angles were a bit off, so she didn't score. But I do want to talk about a bit of a bright spark there was in the first half, because I was watching it remotely for the first time this season, which I was gutted about. Yes, I thought Lisa Nelson was class. I think our 2 best chances came from her. I think along, I think it was about 6 minutes. Nikita Paris, I think Lisa Nelson stole the ball fairly high up the pitch and played it off to Nikita Paris, but it wasn't on target. And there was another opportunity where I think Jace played a good through ball on the right, and Lisa Nelson sort of broke away and again cut the ball back to Zellum, who I think if she'd taken a touch could have tested the keeper and didn't. So there were bright sparks for the first half from our Norwegian Viking, who was really good, but again just really lacks lack of concentration at the back, I think at times, and again just slow and ponderous. I've written here in my miscellaneous moments to things to mention in my new notebook, is how often our players, and obviously there are times when you do, but receive the ball literally like perpendicular to our own goal, so back completely to the rest of the play. It's really hard then. You have to take a touch. It's going to be slow. You've got to take 1 or 2 touches to even be facing the right way. Like no one's receiving the ball on the half turn. No one's receiving the ball in front of them. It's all literally with backs to goal. So when you're playing the high press, which loads of teams are against us, you're always going to be on the back foot. And then if we all of a sudden we're caught and we try to play it out wide to a fullback, the distribution is poor and often it goes straight out for a throw in, and then you're under pressure again. And it just seems like Barry said, like, I just don't know what's going on. Like last season, we were I think we were the most successful side at playing out of the press and playing the press. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were worst at both of those. So yeah, a difficult first half with some bright bits from Lisa Nalsund and probably Jason Garcia, who were trying to force the issue and make things happen. So it wasn't all doom and gloom. It's this insistence of playing out from the back in the way we are at the moment is not working. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't, but the way we're doing it is just setting us off on the back foot. So every pass we're playing is putting the player we're passing to in trouble. So nothing is crisp, nothing is clean. It's all just a little bit of a mess and a bit all over the place, really.
No, definitely. Yeah, no, I don't have to really to add on that one. Apart from Sean's comment there, we obviously have to talk about it. Sean was brilliant to stand next to, by the way, because in the first few minutes of the game, Sean was like, this is all right, this. United are playing well. Skinner Ball's alive and going well. We concede. And then at halftime, Sean goes, it was a good 5 minutes. It was a good 5 minutes from United, at the start of the game, which it was. And then it all just went a bit downhill after that. So, yeah, fair play to you, Sean. You So I think someone put a comment a bit further on. At least you went to that one and not the 0-0 Brighton versus West Ham later on in the evening. We were too busy laughing at all kinds of things at the Wren afterwards anyway. But Keris, over to yourself. What did you think went wrong, I guess, that first half, but also, like I said, the goal and things like that, but also any positives? Charlie's mentioned a couple of them there.
Yeah, no, I think, like, we started the better team, and we knew to expect that we were not going to be playing against... We knew not to expect the same sort of Everton play that we beat 5-0 and 7-0 earlier in the season. Both managers were very clear in the pre-match press conferences about that's not what we're expecting from this game. So they came out a few times and looked like they were going to hit us on the break even early on before they scored. But, we had, Zellum had a chance. Someone said where she could have taken a touch, instead it went over the bar. Paris had a chance that was just wide, and it felt like had they not scored, we probably would have just kept building that momentum and gone ahead, and it would have been quite straightforward, I feel. But I think the fact they scored early and the manner in which they scored, it obviously gave them a lot of belief, because all of a sudden they're like, all we've got to do is hold on to this lead. It gave them a lot of confidence, but also then we were, people have said a lot already in the comments about like the reaction from the players, particularly Mary Earps, to the first goal. And that was something that I think was addressed at half time, but it was kind of like, I think it was the manner in which we conceded that kind of changed the trajectory of that first half, because we did have plenty of chances for the remainder of the first half, but like we say, only one of those was on target, and it just felt like it wasn't quite clicking. We had a lot of good individual. I thought Garcia was very good. I thought everyone's mentioned Nalsund already. I thought she was excellent. But it felt like as a team, after conceding that first goal, our heads just went down maybe a little bit, and we were sort of panicked by it.
No, I think that's part of the problem. I think it's hard looking back at that first half, because I don't really remember a lot of it. Obviously, it's stark contrast when we get onto the second half in a second, and how well or how much better that second half was. But I was just trying to think. I have rewatched most of the game back, but I'm trying to think of any chances apart from the one that JC hit straight down the middle. I know you've mentioned a couple in there. The Paris one, again, from where I was stood, that didn't look ridiculously close. The Zelen one obviously went over the bar anyway. Like, to me, these are not like clear-cut chances. Not like we were, missing from close range or really, tore Everton apart. What was worrying me is how easy we are to play going the other way. How easy Everton can break. And there was, like, I think, Charlie, you said it hit the post. There was a couple of other chances that they had from us just playing it around at the back. That's what worries me more than us not creating as many chances, how easy we are to counter going the other way. I don't know whether Charlie was going to jump in there. Usually with Charlie on mute, she's ready to go.
Just the bit that stood out for me with regards to what you were saying, and I mentioned it briefly, was I'm going to mispronounce the name. I feel so uncultured, so uncivilized. Van Havermaet. Is that right?
That's how I would say it.
Better now, at least.
If we're wrong, we're both wrong.
Who's obviously been having to play in defence for Everton because they've been crippled by defensive injuries, which Fiona obviously talked to us about on Friday, was back in midfield. But she received the ball in her probably defensive third. Sorry if that's a bit netbally for the viewers, but in her defensive third. And then just literally cut through, literally to the edge of our box without a single challenge from anyone, and got a shot away. It's just how we've talked about before, how quickly other teams do that. And it's not because they're having to do anything difficult. We're just not set up to deal with that at all. We just let them go and go and go and go and go, and then they get a shot. Like, it's annoying, isn't it, when you watch every other team do that against us, and we very rarely do that. Although Lisa Nalsund did do a really good job of that a few times. I'm sure we'll get to that in the second half. Everyone clearly now knows who my vote for POTM. But yeah, it's just the setup's clearly not there. The shape and the structure's clearly not there. Teams are doing that game after game after game after game. They spotted a weakness, right? And we're not adapting to it.
Because even in the second half, which we're going to get to, I don't think we were good for 15, 20 minutes. But again, I think once we got the third, that kind of just settled it down anyway. A couple of people have already referenced this in the comments. Yeah, Skinner did say after in his post-match press comments, he thought that the first half was fine and the performance was good. But
I would say though, from a man management point of view, and I know it was a lie. Like, we all know the first half wasn't what we wanted it to be, but I would take that over what has been happening, which is just a sort of blame culture with the players. I think that is a better approach for him to take than things that have been happening in recent weeks, which is blaming players, even though we know it's crap. At least then we'll just go, that's a load of crap, rather than having to go, oh, why is he picking out this player to have a go at? So it's like a swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
No, I think that's a good way of looking at it, actually, because yeah, there's obviously a lot of stuff going around on the socials at the minute and all kinds of things. Well, it's not even on the socials. If anyone that was in the ground, you could see it. So, it's clearly some.
You could also see it.
Oh, could you? I don't know. I've not watched it on the FA Player in full, but there was definitely some conversations and things like that the players didn't look too pleased about coming from the sidelines. That's for sure. Come on, that makes me so optimistic. I mean,
why, Emily? Now we're going to be out for retribution come May.
Prenton Park last summer was like one of my favourite games I've ever been to. I was on about 3 hours of sleep, met my parents. We outnumbered the Liverpool fans probably about 10-1. It was so good.
That's the best away, and I think. Well, I think there's been a couple that Brighton this season was very good.
Arsenal 2022, grow up, come on.
If I wasn't that one, was I?
Oh,
I missed that one.
How good is that?
I know, but I think Liverpool. Well, Tranmere, if anyone's been there, I think I can't remember who I said to yesterday at the game, but like because that roof it like echoes the sound, doesn't it? So it sounds a lot louder under there. It's like a proper old-fashioned away end. So I think that's why, from that regard, it just seems a lot better on that one. Barry's ready. I'm dreading this because I've just looked in our StreamYard thing and overlay. I might just go and make a drink for 20 minutes while he's going through every single.
PowerPoint. Have you made a presentation?
On it, the effort that I've put in today.
You were looking very studious.
This is what happens when it's the end of the term. But do you know what? I keep making these points and saying things, and people don't see it. So I can't even tell you how much I've put into this. So don't you start with your little perfectly coiffed hair. The amount of time I've spent doing this is how long it would take you to just get that little flick in the hair. So listen, I'm not going to take long with it. We'll stick it all up on the Twitter if you want, so you can see it and look at it a bit better. But basically what I did was I watched the entire game, watched the whole thing, which isn't anything special. But I stopped it every time we touched the ball. Every time, and worked out where that ball went. Was it a complete pass? Was it an incomplete pass? Did we win a tackle? Did we lose possession? Those sorts of things. So I spent a lot of time trying to get that done. And this is what we came up with. So what I'm going to do is just literally show you the first five from the defence for now. Then we'll get rid of all of that. And then when you come back round to me, we can have a look at the difference between the midfield, and then we'll have a look at the difference between the forwards, between the two halves, and it'll be great fun. So we'll kick off with the goalkeeper, Mary Earps. So here she is. So this is Mary Earps in the first half. Right? Look at it. All that tippy-tappy, all the red is when she completes a pass. So that's brilliant, but look at it. Look at where she's doing it. It is so deep within our own half. It's absolutely mad. Now, the black ones are when she's done an incomplete pass, but you can see all of those are ones that she's booted out, with the exception of that little one by the 6-yard box, which is absolutely brilliant because that's the one where she shanked it. The yellow one would have been a complete pass, but Jay's made a foul. So that was unfortunate. But you can see all of it pretty much, bar 3 balls, are in our own half. Now you look at her in the second half, and this is what she does. In the second half, it's again still all going out to our own half. But she has cut out that ridiculous tippy-tappy stuff within the box, which I think is so important. Like, you looked how many there was. She was taking goal kicks and passing it to the person right next to her. That was 3 people in the box. All of these ones that you see are where she's received the ball and she's genuinely trying to switch the play so that we can move it down the right-hand side and we're not putting players under pressure. So there's Mary Earps. Hannah Blundell. This was her in the first half. Again, look at what she's doing. All of those little passes in her own area. The blue one, by the way, is a header that was complete. A yellow dot in this case was when we won a foul, so she got a set piece, and a red dot is when we won the ball, so she's got a tackle in or done something like that. And again, a black one, incomplete pass. You can see in the first half the things she tried to do when she got in behind wasn't working very well, but generally her passing was good. She only had 2 incomplete passes the whole first half. But the second half, less touches, but you can see she's up the pitch a bit more. She's doing more work outside of her own little box. It's not all stuck in that little left back spot. When you look at Millie Turner, again, look at all of this. It's just ridiculous. That's where Millie Turner spent most of her life, and she's passing it consistently to Maya Letitia or back to Mary Earps. It's absolute. And even then, the blue dot, what was the blue dot? The blue dot was when she gave away a foul. That's right. So she fouled someone in the box, and she had a header that went wide, which was the brown line. But you can see again all of her passing in that half. When you start looking in the second half, it's a little bit more spread out. You can see she's moving around the area a lot more. She's not stuck in the same position, just tipping it out wide, left and right. So the level of effort that she's putting in has improved. You get to May Laetitia. Obviously, there's the one there where she hits the ball back to Mary Earps and it conceives the goal. But other than that, you can see she's again trying the shorter passes within her own half. When you start getting over there to the second half, look what she's doing now. Yes, there's a lot more black. So, yes, there's a lot more incomplete passes. But look at the length of them. She's actively trying to stretch the play. She's actively trying to get us up the pitch and moving, which is just in stark contrast. Look at that. Tiny, rubbish. Big, spread the play. Second half, massive difference. And the last one on this particular round of how does Barry waste his time when he's got something to do on a Monday was, of course, Aoife Mannion. Many people's pick for player of the match. You can see here, first half, again, down the right-hand side, mainly going forward, to be fair. I would argue the only defender, really, whose passes were genuinely trying to get the ball forward, up to Jay's. There's a few back passes, but nothing too major. When you look at her second half performance, again, stuck more to the right, but again, we're spreading the play more. She's trying to go for some longer balls, and we're trying to get the ball up and away from the defence. And I just can't explain, hello everyone, how different that is. To be in a
six. What about the other six players? What about the other six?
I'm going to get to them. We can't stop it, otherwise you'll be listening to me. I've got them all, but that's the defence. So that was the difference. Sorry?
I feel like I'm back at school watching that. I was there.
I mean, school wasn't really what I was aiming for. I was going more, Monday night football. I don't have all of the bits so I can move it when I push the fingers. Otherwise, it would be so much easier.
It'd be interesting to know, what it look. If that, I know you haven't got loads of time on your hands, but I'd really like you to go back and do that for every game. Because if that's the case for every game, why are we doing that every game? Do you know what I mean? Like the weird, slow, cruddy start. That's really good. I want to see the other six.
Yeah. Yeah. Barry's got a beard at the moment. He's got his stuck in a zip, so he needed somebody to take over for him. He's still trying to get the hair out. But yeah. So there we go. That was the defence. And honestly, the difference, it's just stark. When you look at those things, we're not just boxing ourselves into our own half. It was Everton, for God's sake. If that was Chelsea, you could kind of understand us trying to keep possession and keep them off the ball. But Everton, the team that we've spanked like 7-0 and 4-0, absolutely mental. But once we start spreading that play a bit more, getting the ball forward, it was always going to be better. And that was where the defence had a much better performance.
There's a lot of love for that in the chat, by the way. Thought I'd just bring some of these up while you were rounding it off there. No, I really hope he's not gone down that route and made all kinds of graphics for them as well. So that would be something we don't want to see. But no, yeah, it's good to see it actually on pick. Well, because you can see it in the ground. It's a big frustration of all of us when you're watching the game, whether that's on TV or whether that's yourself and actually at the ground watching. You can see it. It's evident right there for you to see. Do you know what? Maybe the AFU budget can stretch to that for next season. We'll all be sat here with pads in front of us, like we'll have a full electronic thing and interactive and everything, and you can. We'll go proper professional next season. We'll see what happens. On that one. While Barry was doing all that, I did put the player of the match pod in the chat, by the way, so you can go and vote on that one. Lisa,
and you're going to be properly able to decide who your player of the match is today, because you'll have seen it all from the graphics. Have you picked the wrong person, you're going to look like an idiot. Just saying.
Well, it's split between three at the moment. Well, no, to be fair, it's two. It's between Toone and Lisa at the moment. But we'll see. We'll come back at the end of the show on that one. And yeah, we'll see who gets the vote. Right, let's get to some of the United goals then, because we've got 4 to get through, and only about half an hour to try and get through them all. So I want to kind of get through some of these. Not going to lie, So obviously the Millie Turner one, obviously as we know, we came out much better in the second half. Millie Turner gets the first one. Not gonna lie, I cannot remember this one, so I'm gonna just go to any of you that wants to. Charlie wants to go for a Charlie because I cannot remember it for the life of me.
It was a Katie Zellum hoop set piece corner deep into the back post, and Millie Turner jumped the highest and won the ball. So yeah, another nice little goal from set piece. Set pieces that are irrelevant don't matter. But yeah, really good delivery, really good from Millie Turner, and I think that just changed the momentum, didn't it, for the next 15 or 20 minutes.
I do remember. All I remember is Jess just saying she leapt like a salmon for that one. That's all I remember her saying. So you described it quite well there, to be fair. Management team. Can you imagine us four and like maybe a few others that come on here on the regular running the show at United? Oh my life! Some people would not like that at all. It would be fun though. We wouldn't be short of.
It would depend who the number one is.
It'd pay better than my current job.
Yeah, there's that as well. I don't know who number.
It would massively matter who the number one is, Connor. It would all be so different. We've got such different management styles. It'd be very, very interesting to see how we'd have to have roles.
I feel we're going off a slightly unrealistic tangent here.
Yeah, you could rotate though, depending on who the opposition is, couldn't you?
What, rotate the manager?
Yeah.
Whose week is it this week? Oh, it's Keris's turn to be in charge.
Needs a statistician, it'll be Barry. This game needs a player that will knee slide, that's me. Or manager, sorry, that will knee slide, that's me. This needs this game needs a manager with a nice little duffel coat and a strong quiff. That would be Connor. So whenever we're going up against Jonas Idval. And if we thought, this game needs someone with a calm head who will actually think about things clearly, that would be Keris.
Imagine that if we rotated the management.
My family and boyfriend are watching this in the other room right now, and I guarantee you they are wetting themselves at that description.
Well. There we go. And you would. Every viewer would get a free season ticket. We would lose United so much money because we'd be giving everything away, but it would be it'd be fun. And no, it definitely isn't. Yeah, it would have to be trimmed down, that's for sure. It just wouldn't cope up there on that one. Barry, Keris, you got anything to add on the Millie goal? Charlie kind of summed it up pretty well. It's the I think Biggs just put it. It's a typical Millie Turner header. It's a typical Zellum cross, isn't it?
It was fairly sort of the only thing that there is to say about it is that it sent Brian Sorensen absolutely fuming because I did think we obviously had so many corners, and I was thinking we're never going to score from one of these because Van Havermaet I did not realise how tall she was until I saw her yesterday, because that's usually obviously Millie is very much in my club of overgrown centre back post merchant, not to not to devalue her work at all, because I also belong to that club and I love it. But I was thinking she's never going to get up above Van Havermaet. And, the Everton players and manager were complaining that she'd been, climbing off her shoulders and everything. But at the end of the day, yeah, it was, as we said, it's a pretty simple goal. And the really important thing it did was give us the momentum.
Now feels like a good time to bring up the Katie Zellum graphics. So might as well go around with that one while we're talking about the goal there. And I like this as well because... it's, again, very interesting. So here's Katie Zellum in half number 1. And it's, again, really quite interesting. So black dots when they lost possession. So as you can see, Katie lost possession twice, once in our half, once in theirs. Interestingly enough, when it came to the headers, I'm working out now that I probably shouldn't have used the sort of burgundy one for headers that were missed because they don't show up very well against the red. But we're all learning today, right? So there we go. But what you can see is, again, all of her passing very much of good quality. The two black lines that you see from our half, obviously we've got a clearance from off the line from a corner, I think that was, when she just smashed it away from the near post. The second one was just a terrible pass, to be honest with you. But the thing that was really noticeable was the set pieces. We often say about Katie Zellum, what does she provide for us set piece wise? We look at her corners. Actually, They weren't that great today. Sorry. Feels like today because that's all I spent today doing. Yesterday wasn't great. What you see there is 3 from the left-hand side, as it would be for her, and the right-hand side, a couple. The short ones were quite good. She only had one that was actually met by an attacker, which is a bit of a worry in that respect. So there you go. Lots of sideways passing and generally forward. And this is why, when we're talking about the first half, it may not have been the greatest first half at all. But when you look at what Katie Zellem was trying to do there, I'll argue that she's one of the players who, again, has actually tried to spread the play. You think about how the defenders were working so deep in their own half. And you look at where Katie Zellem's picking the ball up from, haven't included runs and things like that. But obviously, you see where she's picking up the ball and she's trying her best to get it out to the side on both occasions, which again, I think is really important. So this is the stuff that I think goes under the radar with Katie Zellem. The fact that, she's lost possession a couple of times there, but actually she's the one trying to spread that ball out. And you can see there, wins possession 3 times. So moving on to your question about the goal, where here you go. This is Katie Zellem in the second half. And you can see down the right when she was having to jump back in as a sort of a makeshift right back at times and was dropped back, her balls weren't all that great. You could see quite a few times incomplete passes. But when you come to the set pieces again, you'll notice that, again, every single set piece from the corners doesn't reach a target you'd want it to reach. The yellow one, again, was a foul. The only one that was a goal was the goal, obviously, the one to the far post. So out of all of the set pieces that she took, which was probably, if you counted them all, probably about 10, 12 corners that were taken there, only one of them really reached the person we needed it to reach. And ultimately, it sparked the revival. But you can see that on this occasion, do you argue with that's poor delivery from Katie Zellem, or do you argue that the players weren't getting into the positions that perhaps they should have done? So, I don't know. That's something you can sort of argue with that one. I can see you with your hand up there, Charlie. Is there something you wanted to say?
Something else I find interesting is the one from the first half. It's pretty obvious. We talked about United being fairly one-dimensional at the start of the game. Obviously, she's trying to make things happen, but you look at the number of touches and the number of times she's clearly received the ball, and we talk about that often, don't we, about how much pressure is put on her to receive the ball and be the one to distribute. Whereas if you go back to your second half one, obviously the pressure looks like it's been alleviated there somewhat, and that can only be to do with the fact that perhaps we're mixing up how we're trying to play the ball and who we're trying to play the ball through, which makes us obviously less one-dimensional as well.
Absolutely. And you can see Zellem being a bit further forward as well, so she has the ability to knock the ball back to the likes of Turner, to the likes of Letitia, who come higher up the pitch. And so therefore, again, like you just say, spreading the play out that little bit more. So listen, as far as the goal goes, superb. Really, really, really good goal. And just the sort of thing that you expect Millie Turner to do. We've seen her do it time and time again. But again, that's Katie Zellem and the Millie Turner goal. Come on, I think is the correct answer to anything you've just said.
It's interesting to see that about the corners, because I think I was just about to say this before you'd referenced it anyway. And I think, well, if anyone was going to bring it up, of course it was going to be Vic talking about Toone. But Toone did actually take one of the corners in the first half, because we had 3 in a row where Zell hit 3 and it just 2 of them I think went into the keeper's hands and the other one just went over everybody, and then Toone just stepped and went. I think Zell was running to the corner flag, and I think Toone went, "No, I'm having this one," and put it. And I think actually Millie did get her head on that one. So yeah, it was unlike her to not have the delivery that maybe she. See, I swear to God. that she usually has, but as you said, it's always there. Throughout a game, as we saw with the Millie goal. Speaking of Toone, then I'm conscious. Which one was the first? The first one was the mishit left foot, wasn't it? And then the great strike on the right. We'll pretend that she meant that, and that she meant to slightly control it off her left rather than mishit the shot. But Charlie, in terms of Ella Toone in this game, obviously she did get the third one as well. So in fact, I'll incorporate both in terms of both goals and what you thought of her overall performance. Obviously, we know the whole team stepped up in the second half, but Toone in particular, getting her 50th and 51st goal for United as well.
Yeah, I think she just found us, or she got herself into good positions. I've certainly bemoaned this season the lack of ingenuity and creativity, and tactical nuance with regards to how players are in the box. Again, we seem one-dimensional. We talked a lot about all players arriving late, so all of them arrive late, and then no one's in the box when the crosses come in, or they're all approaching the same post, all approaching the back post or the front post. Whereas actually there was a bit more of a strategy, I think, with regards to how we attacked the box in certain situations. And I think with her first goal, I think Garcia's contribution to that is a little bit understated. I think she does a lot of really good work in holding the ball up and beating one or two Everton players. She plays really good one-touch football with Toone and Hannah. I think in the build-up to that, keeps possession of the ball really well. And then it's good industrious work from Jace to hook the ball back in when it could have just rolled out for a goal kick, really. So I think she did a good job. And yeah, I've written for that, the first one, bundled in. But it doesn't really matter because she found herself in a really good position. And we haven't been doing that. I don't think she's been doing that enough, or we've been creating situations enough for her to be able to do that. And I think the second one, it was she was again in the right place at the right time in sort of the centre of the 6-yard box. But I think that one for me was all Lisa Nalsund, that one. And I think Aoife Mannion did well to keep it in initially when the ball was being played out for throw-in. But Lisa again wins the ball back, skips past a defender or two, and fairly nimble and quick for a Viking, and then plays the ball into the perfect position. And I would have been annoyed. I would have been really annoyed if one of our forwards wasn't in that position at that point when she's making that run with the ball. And the sort of the power on that ball, the placement of it just made it really simple for whoever was there. But yeah, it's always nice to see Toone get on the score sheet. I think she takes a lot of criticism, a lot of pressure. When United aren't performing so well, her and certain other individuals take the sort of the pressure for that. But I thought it was a good performance from her. I thought she was creative across the second half. And I think with that midfield three we had, when they click and they're in the right position, so Lisa was a bit more advanced, I think, the second half, I think they're really formidable and they're really, really good. But too often we've seen them as a three not seeming to play in the positions that are best suited for them, almost stepping on each other's toes. That was a bit in the first half as a midfield three. They were getting in each other's way at times or pressing the same player and it just wasn't working. Whereas in the third half, it worked a lot better. But yeah, great for Toone to get the 2 goals. But I think Lisa Nalson's contribution, particularly to the third one and early on in the game, can't be understated.
Yeah, I mean, Keris, I'll throw it over to yourself. Like, Charles kind of summed up the goals there, and like Artie's comment there, the second Toone goal, it's something we've been crying out for. Because for me, Ella Toone's defensive contribution to me is next to none. I think when you're looking at defensive, but going forward, she is exceptional, and I would rather she just stays further forward and almost plays as a second striker at times. And we can see what she can do, as we saw in this game, the 2 great goals that arriving in the box and being in the right place at the right time. She's got that football intelligence, as Stu would always say, to be in the right positions and to put them away, because we know she's got the ability to do it. So do you think that's more of the case in this one? And what did you make of, the 2 goals, but also her overall performance in the game in terms of how much better she was in the second half as well as the rest of the team?
Yeah, I mean, the goals would almost, they were obviously her standout moments, but I thought she put in a solid performance. Other than that, there was nothing outstanding. I don't think she was our most important player in terms of creating, which almost links back to what you were saying in terms, Connor, of like her almost playing as a second striker sometimes when we need it. So I think she's done that. I thought obviously Nalsund, as Charlie was saying, needs massive credit for her work in winning the ball back and playing Toone in. But yeah, I think, Mark Skinner was saying in the press conference that she's been working for the last kind of 10 weeks on a finishing. Like after training every single day, she's been doing extra on her finishing. So hopefully this is the start of like a really positive run for her. Obviously seeing her hit 50 and 51 goals, she's the first player to do that for the club. So that's fantastic. But yeah, I agree that sometimes I think we should be being a bit more sort of flexible in our thinking and seeing her as like having the potential to push a bit further forward when we need it and let someone else pick up the defensive work.
It's an interesting comment. Sorry, Kevin, it wasn't that one. Would you offer Ella Toone the number 9? I wouldn't be putting her in the 9 personally. Like I said, off the striker, as she was last season when Alessia was playing down the middle. Toone was very close to her. on the pitch, just playing behind her. I think that's her best position. I wouldn't be putting her in the 9 though. I don't think her hold of play, I don't think is that great to be a 9. I don't think she's got that. I just don't think she's a 9, personally. People may disagree, but not for me on that one. I'd keep her in her best position, playing just off the striker in that one. Barry, go on, run us through the next 2 goals then in what you've got.
Okay, let's see what we got now, shall we? Well, first of all, people mentioned Lisa Nielsen, so let's have a little look at how Lisa got on. So this was Lisa Nielsen's first half performance. And as you can see, some interesting moments there. She was up in almost like the Jays role once there, got the ball back, but obviously I think that was the one that Zelly wellied over the ball, wellied over the bar even. I'm trying to do that. And then another one where she set up Jays as well. Just 2 incomplete passes. To be fair, the first one in the centre circle, she'd only just won the ball, so it was not an easy one that she was looking at there. But you can see as well, again, wins the ball 4 times reasonably high up the pitch in the midfield, as well as winning the ball right at the back. A nice little interception to get the ball back to Mary Earp. So you can see that with Lisa, she's spread out across the pitch, which is really good to see. Second half, she was phenomenal. And it's less spread out, a little bit more focused, but you'll notice she's doing a lot more work down the right-hand side there. And it's quite intriguing because when you see Toone, she's a little bit more to the left than Nielsen is. So it's quite interesting as you see the 2 of them. People often say Zelly does the 6 role, and then the likes of Nielsen and Toone will perhaps be a bit more further forward. So you can see she won 3 set pieces there. One from a shot that was obviously saved over the bar, and then there was an incomplete cross that came in where it was just headed behind for a corner. But you can see again with what Lisa's doing there that 3 shots for a start, which was massive because you look at all the things in the first half, we've not really had very many shots to talk about, have we? So I felt like Lisa really did put a lot of effort in there. She did lose possession a lot more in the second half than she did in the first, but look how many times she wins the ball back. She's got 6, I think I can count there, already winning the ball back. So you can see that Lisa does a lot of good work. But the goal scorer, the person we're all talking about at the moment, Everton, this was our first half. And as I say, mostly down the left-hand side, which was quite interesting. One shot that was straight over the bar, loses the ball a few times, and just a few incomplete passes. So actually the work that's been done by Toone, short passing, wasn't really going too much for any of the long searching balls, which was, again, a big hallmark of our first half performance. When you get to the second half, a lot less touches. But my goodness, look at what she does with them. The 2 that you see where they are incomplete passes in the black, you discount them because that's just her wellying the ball away from things like a corner that hasn't been cleared properly. Every other pass that she made there, complete, and to a person that was going to help us to progress the ball further forward. And then as you can see as well, 3 shots, one from the edge of the box that wasn't the most ideal because it went straight over, but then 2 from inside the box. And I think actually it shows that Toone wasn't as, what's the word I'm looking for here? She wasn't as involved in the second half, but she absolutely was, I think, a lot more impactful in the second half than she was in the first, which to be fair is the truth for all of our players. So that's the statistical side of looking at it that way. In terms of just the goals themselves, first one incredibly good. When we see Jays' one, we'll see that little hook. Jays' one is an interesting one. In fact, the front 3 will be quite intriguing to look at. But I think what was good, as has already been said, she's had a few chances that she's missed in similar positions before. And I think for me, just really, really pleased that she's got 2 there. She's got herself past the 50, which is obviously a big old hallmark for her as well. Landmark, sorry, not hallmark, that she's managed to hit. It's been a sort of monkey on her back for a while, that hasn't it? Trying to get to that number. So now that's done, that's out the way. She doesn't have to worry about that quite so much. So, yeah, really, really, really pleased with how she performed in that game. And it just goes to show that you don't have to have loads of touches. It just needs to be a case of making the most of what you do with it.
Do you want to go through the rest of them while you're on them here? Because you mentioned them. Well, I can see them, but you mentioned the ones about the forward line there. Because I'm conscious of time. We've still got quite a few other things to go through as well. So if you want to go through the forward lines, you fire away. So how many is it? I can see them. I'm looking forward to, because some of these have got next to none on. So I'm intrigued to know who they are.
Stuff away just because you can see stuff. All right, so we'll kick off with Jay's, as she's just top of the list. So this was Jay's first half. The thing that struck me the most was how often she lost the ball. And, obviously what we don't include with these are the runs. And obviously a lot of the front line had some great runs going through, which was superb. But as you can see, there are lots and lots and lots of losing the ball, incomplete passes. She had a couple of good balls down the right-hand side. Won a few set pieces. These were generally from shots. One shot that was saved. And then committed a couple of fouls as well. So, again, as a first half, some might have said she was a highlight, but to me, I just didn't feel like she was doing as well as she could have done there. Second half, barely anything. She, didn't really do too much at all. No surprise that she was one of the ones that got the hook. 4 balls from the right-hand side, didn't get to anyone, although you can see the one that was hooked in that ended up leading to a headed clearance for Toone to score from. 2 shots, which both were put behind for set pieces. And again, you see a couple of red and black dots together there, which is quite interesting. It's where she's either lost the ball and then won it straight back again, or won the ball and lost it straight away again. So interesting, when we talk a lot about her final product, this is exactly what we're talking about. And when you look at Garcia, she's the next one. This one is not complete, I'm afraid. So this is the first half. You can see she didn't do as much as perhaps she would have liked to. Very few touches, won a few set pieces, and that was it really. She didn't really get the chance to do too much. A couple of nice little balls into the box as people were running through and onto them. But the second half, this really annoyed me because this isn't everything that Garcia did. I got to 67 minutes and 52 seconds, went to click on Garcia, clicked on the cross, didn't I? And I couldn't get the tab back. So the stuff that she's done initially for the first 22 minutes isn't there. So I have saved that so that I'm able to go back in and do it again should I wish to. But yeah, you can see this is everything past the 67th minute until she came off. And again, a couple of set pieces, generally good play, but I can't really tell you too much about Garcia, unfortunately, because she got lost, which is a shame. This is Nikita Paris. We've spoken a lot about how good Keats has done this season. Again, this was her first half, and 3, 4, 5. That's less than 10 touches, really, which is mad for a striker. She did win 3 set pieces, which was quite good. Had a shot, and all of our touches pretty much in the opposition half, but it just goes to show how little we got forward. She barely got the ball. She wasn't given an opportunity to do too much with it. Second half, I might say even less, really. Obviously, she does come off, but it was a good effort, I suppose, that she had from distance. But yeah, it wasn't ideal in terms of how they did there. So yeah, Paris, not so great. When you get to your subs, this is Leah Galton. So we're going to get to the goal with her, I'm sure. But as you can see, 5 touches and a goal as well, made the 6th. So not a huge amount there for Leah Galton in terms of impact, but she scored a goal, so not too bad. And last 2, we've got Rachel Williams, 6 touches, one of which was a foul, one of which was losing possession, which led to the foul. And then an assist for Leah Galton as well. And Miyazawa, bless her, didn't have too much to do. 3 touches of the ball, but wasn't it nice to have her back and, winning the ball and not giving it away, which was quite nice. So there we go. That was how I decided to spend my day today. And I hope you've all enjoyed my TED Talk.
I thought you got that clap. That's a round of applause thing for you on that one. There was a comment actually that I thought was interesting while you were saying that in terms of Barry's post-match analysis. This deserves its own show. If there is demand for this next season, now I'm not promising anything. Well, I am. I'll say this on here. we will do 2 types of match reactions next season. We'll do the usual Monday one where we just come on as fans and just rant and be over the top and really happy. And then we might do a full tactical breakdown one on a Tuesday or a Wednesday to follow on from that. If people really want to see that, we will do that from next season and really dive into it. Because the tactical ones we've done, I've done a couple with Miriam and obviously Barry's piece there, seems to go down well. So if people want to see more of that, we will do it, because ultimately this is your channel as much as it is ours. So we will just provide the content that you guys want to see. So if the demand is there, we will 100% put the work in to make that happen week in, week out as well from next season. So well done, Barry, on that one. I did not expect that. Not when you said you had some graphics made, I genuinely thought it was going to be about me, to be honest, after the Twitter
April
poll.
Fools, Connor, you thought that I was just going to be a joker, but no, I decided to spend my day. I can't see. No, I've actually gone blind. It's I don't know what's going on over here.
You mentioned the 4th goal. We'll move on to that one as well. Then, before I talk about the 4th goal, just want to obviously a quick mention. Obviously, Leah Galton and Miyazawa both coming back from injuries. And Charlie, I'll start with yourself in terms of how good you think it is. Those 2 are back, and also I guess. What Paul was saying there, where does that leave our midfield with Miyazawa fit again? Because when Miyazawa was fit, she was starting most games. And obviously this was pre-Lisa's form that we're now seeing. Do you think it's a case of that she's just going to have to wait, and bide her time and come off the bench as she did against Everton yesterday, and it's going to be a part of that? Same with Leah Galton.
It's really nice to have them both back, isn't it? Because the bench was starting to look a little bit underwhelming. Not too. I think it was times when we maybe had 1 forward on the bench. It was getting a bit worrying, wasn't it? So it's really nice to see them back. It was nice to see her get a couple of minutes. I think if she's fit and ready to play, and the coaching staff think she can make a difference, I think you just need to throw her in there, don't you? We've got Chelsea next in the cup. I think after the yet another boring international break, and if she's ready to go, I would give her more minutes. If it was up to me, because I think technically she's so good. She keeps the ball really well, and she has a very different dimension. I also think before she got injured, her and Ella Toone actually were starting to play really well together. So it's worth exploring, isn't it? Perhaps.
And aside from the goals, Eamon's right to point this out, that she did get the biggest reaction of all the players to come out or to come on, subs wise. That was the loudest cheer, I think, from around the ground. Obviously, it's been a while. When did she get injured? It's felt like a long time.
International break in, I think, November sort of time. November sort of time. So it's been a long time, pre-Christmas for sure.
Well, yeah, it's been a lot longer than I thought. Kara, same kind of question to yourself, and also I guess Emily's kind of following on again from what Paul was just saying in terms of she should have to earn a spot, like anyone else would do. But Charlie's raised some points there in terms of how good she is. Hold at play, the way she had something a bit different to the midfield. What do you think on that point of view, and also again how good it is to have both of them back in the team?
It's really difficult, right? Because it's obviously, first of all, it's great to have them back. It's great to have those options, but especially with Miyazawa in the midfield, it's like we know Toone's not going to be dropped. We know Zellam's not going to be dropped. Nelson's been in fantastic form. Like, it's so difficult. It was actually, I asked yesterday in the press conference, I asked Mark Skinner, like, how do you kind of balance these players coming back? And he's like, oh, that's a really good question. I was like, okay. But what he basically said was it allows, if performance levels are dropping, allows him to then make changes. So I get the sense that for the rest of the season, for this run in, he's seeing her as more of an impact sub, which is really hard when you have players of such great quality, trying to balance the minutes between them with so few games left when she's been out for so long. It's really, really tough. And I think maybe that is how it'll be for the last few games of this season. Like her coming on as just a sort of impact sub kind of role.
No, it's a fair point. And to be fair, honestly, I see the premise of your comment in terms of, Guerrero's been fit for a while and she didn't get any minutes yesterday, as well as Mallard, by the way, which is really wound me up, but that's a whole other conversation. But you've got players like Guerrero, who he speaks about that needs to adapt and so on, but Miyazawa's literally just come back from injury. She's one of the first players to come on. So clearly they're there. Well, he just trusts them more clearly in that point of view. And also Miyazawa did start the season as well Was it the second game of the season? I think she started from it. It was definitely early in the season. She started in that midfield. Yeah, Barry, same question for yourself in terms of the two. Welcoming them back into the squad.
Yeah, no, it was good to see them both back. I think with all the chat we've had about injuries this term, I think really what we need to be looking at is making sure they stay fit and that we don't have any further injuries or any more dramas. So, listen, everybody's been saying they want me to be manager next season. If it were me and I'm taking over, I want a fit Miyazawa. So you do just bring her on for a few minutes, give her the opportunity to get some game time so that she's still involved. But you absolutely don't want to be rushing her back. The season's gone. Like, let's be clear, the season's gone. We're not finishing third. We're not getting Champions League. And, the best we can hope for is winning the FA Cup. For me now, this should have been an audition for who starts the FA Cup in 2 weeks. That's what today, yesterday should have been. It should have been who's going to get those positions, who's going to start that game against Chelsea. And Miyazawa, unless she does like magic, Emma Watson style during training, there is absolutely no way she starts that game against Chelsea because she's missed too much football. And you'd argue the same with Galton. So I would imagine we'll be starting pretty much the same team against Chelsea as we did against Everton. They'll need a better start. But yeah, for me, Miyazawa, Galton, any of the ones that have just come in, that they don't start, not yet. It's a more intriguing question with the rest of what they're talking about with the midfield. Someone like Guerrero not getting any minutes at all. It concerns me a little bit. How is she not getting any time at all? I mean, Nelson was everywhere. Again, you could see from that she was on all four corners of the pitch. I'm pretty sure there wasn't a blade of grass that she didn't touch through the entire 90. But give her a rest then. We're 3-1 up. Is that not a good time to bring her off? Make sure she doesn't get injured so that she's fresh and safe for the cup. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, and I know, Charlie, me and you have spoken about this privately, Charlie. I just wanted to bring this up before we move, onto the fourth goal. What's people's opinions on Mallard? Quick wave to the crowd and straight down the tunnel the last couple of games. And again, she didn't come on. Now, that to me, for a player, and I think, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Barry, actually, that spoke about this on a show not so long back. I can't remember which one it was. You loan her in for a year. If she needs that long to adapt, why are you loaning her? Because that's a complete waste, because it's a year loan anyway. Why? This is a player, right, that Lyon want to build their team around. One of the best teams in Europe want to build their team around. That's why they signed her on such a long contract there. Cannot get any minutes in a struggling United team this season. Yeah. It baffles me.
Got less minutes for us this season on a loan, and obviously the point of a loan is for a player to get minutes, right, and play regularly. She said, and this isn't like loaning out a developmental player and wanting them to develop in that way. This isn't like a loan out a Clinton or a Tara Bourne historically, or Kira Barry in previous seasons. This is someone who's won the Champions League and played a lot of minutes for Lyon, but obviously the team that Lyon are playing at the moment, she isn't going to be a starter, so they sent her to us. But she's played less minutes for us than she played for Lyon last season. I think that's right, which is just absolutely mental. It for her as well, it was similar. Like, she went through a period of time when she was scoring quite a lot of goals, right? So she was playing as the 9, and she was scoring quite regularly. And then I think she was maybe injured and she missed a game or two, and then has barely come back in. I just find the whole thing absolutely staggering. That I find that staggering, particularly when you look at the games where we have been, which haven't been as often as we like, but 3 or 4 goals to the good, or even just in need of changing something, and a player of her quality isn't getting a sniff. I find it staggering. Her and Guerrero, it just absolutely baffles and bamboozles me. And if this is a case of, people have talked before about, maybe these aren't the players that Mark Skinner wants, they're being given to him. If you're the person spending the money, because obviously you're spending money on Guerrero and you're spending money to a point on Mallard, if you're the person getting those players in, you just stop getting players in, wouldn't you? So I'm not going to get you anyone because you're not playing them. The whole thing's just absolutely insane. Like yesterday against Everton, the scoreline looks comfortable. Yes, it looks comfortable at 4-1, but at 3-1, it wasn't super comfortable. And so in one train of thought, or one theory of thought, is if things aren't comfortable, you should keep it the same rather than disrupt. But also, there is another theory of thought that, you know what, if things aren't comfortable, you can do something tactically to adapt and change that. And you can bring in a World Cup winning midfielder, and you can bring on a Champions League winning striker to add fresh legs, add pace, add a different dynamic. And it's just not going to happen. And for me, it's not about slagging off Toone or slagging off Zelen, because they're the go-to, aren't they? They're the go-to for a fan base that sort of prides itself on, we're not going to be like Arsenal and Chelsea who go for our own players. We're going for those two players all the time. It's not about that. This is about a squad culture or system we have at the moment that isn't built around rotation and giving players opportunities. And it's not young players who haven't achieved things. It's players that have achieved things. And we previously talked, like last year, I think we talked about, and certainly the season before, the things that might get us over the line with regards to winning things and regular Champions League is getting in experienced winners. And we've got two experienced winners who are sat on the bench, not kicking a football at any point. They don't appear to be disruptive. There appears to be no injury issue for the last weeks and weeks. So it doesn't make sense to me, that at all. That's my 2 pence worth.
But it's like, I think someone just made the point, like, not that I really care what Leon, think about Man United, but like you said, you loan someone out so they get more minutes. The fact she's had less minutes for us than it's just a waste of a loan, really, because she may as well have just stayed in Lyon and got the minutes there. And they're in the semi-final of the Champions League. I'm sure she would have loved to have been in the semi-final of the Champions League right now. And as you said, this is someone, she's not just played in the Champions, she's won it 4 times. Like, this is somebody who is, like I said, an elite forward that Leon wanted to build the team around. I was so excited when we got her, and she started the season. She got a few goals earlier. She scored against Everton, by the way, in the reverse fixture at their place. And we just don't seem to see her since. And to me, it just seems to be, it's just a waste. And I don't think we'll get her on a permanent. And that to me just makes me sad, because I want to keep her on a permanent. But why would she? If I'm her, there's no way I'm sticking around, past this summer, because the evidence is there that she's not played so far.
This happens regularly, right? This isn't unusual for these two players. It's not these two players who are one-off. This happens season on season on season, doesn't it?
I think it's interesting as well. Someone was saying in the comments earlier about, do we have an out-and-out number 9? We don't really have a number 9. I was like, we kind of do, to be fair. It's just that she's on the bench. I think Mallard is probably the closest thing to an out-and-out 9 that we have, but she's not playing. And it's really difficult. You've got a load of world-class players and you're bringing in these, like, amazingly, you're bringing in these incredible players with winning pedigree for them to sit on the bench. I think there's a real concern that players stop coming to us, right? If they know that they are going to be sat adapting for 6 months, it's player. Why would they want to sign for United?
And also, if we individually look at the game against Everton, right? Keats has had a brilliant season for us. The last 2 or 3 games, you could argue that she's dropped off a bit. I blame Serena. Something happened in that phone call. But against Everton, again, in spite of us winning 4-1, I think she struggled a bit in that game. I think she struggled with the physicality from the Everton rejuvenated backline, so their players back in, and she was struggling with a hold-up play, and she was struggling to get involved. Therefore, it's not about having a go at her. It's not Mark saying, Keats, you're crap. She's been brilliant. But why not go, do you know what? We're going to get you off. You've run yourself into the ground, but we're not having much luck because of how Everton are playing. Mallard, get yourself warmed up. You're going to come on for 25, 30 minutes. And she offers a different dimension. She's a much bigger player, different style of play. Is someone who potentially would be in the box. It was Emma or someone was talking earlier about Jace does make balls into the box, and it looks like they're not going anywhere from Barry's beautiful graphics. But it can often be as well because no one's there to receive them. And Mallard, a lot of the goals she's scored for us this season against PSG, against Everton, are because she's been in the right place at the right time, and she's scored the scrappy goals for us when we've needed them. And for some reason, she's just not getting the game. And again, is someone who appears to be very much a team player, popular amongst the playing squad, hasn't ruffled feathers, hasn't come out and said anything. Her agent's not been out and said anything. Is just getting on with it. But that professionalism and that experience and what she can offer, it's almost like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you can offer, not bothered.
Where I find it absolutely mad is, again, you look at the subs that were made. They were made at 3-1, so it was comfortable at that point. We were happy. And obviously brings on Galton and Williams on the 73rd minute. And you think to yourself, we know what we're going to get from Rachel Williams. Rachel Williams is a seasoned veteran by now. We know what Rachel Williams is going to do. It's not going to take you 40 or 50 games to know what you're doing with Rachel Williams. Give the ball to Rachel Williams. If you give it to her while she stood still, she's going to hold the ball up because ain't nobody getting through her. She's a wall. And if you put it past her, she's going to chase after it and kill the defender effectively, where it's barging them off the ball, whatever it is that she needs to do. So why not give Mallard that opportunity? Everton made 5 substitutions. We made 3. Miyazawa being one right at the end, and that was a good opportunity there. You could have put Zellum up into the 10 role if you really wanted to, and bring Toone off. She'd done her job by then. Again, it's about protecting those players. And where I find it mad is you look at what we did last season. Even people like Fallon Tullis-Joyce, a superb goalkeeper. She would have come in here. She's had less games. Just take a moment to get this through your head. She's had less games than Bagley managed last season, because Bagley was coming in for the Conti Cup. Like, how is that possible? It's like, I don't get it. If I'm PTJ, I'm over there and I'm knocking on his door and I'm like, what's going on? How is this happening? How have you got to a point? We can sit and talk about having to build up the chemistry, as High Lane says, and I know that he's being sarcastic with what Skinner's said, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And this is where he loses it, because in games like this, you don't have an excuse. If it's a tight 2-1, all right, you can kind of see where an argument comes in. He doesn't have that on this one, so he's just lost the plot.
No, and I actually turned to Jess it was the second half, because as good as Garcia's been and Jace off the right, Mallard takes the chances that both of them have had, and from the real frustration, both of our wingers are exceptional at running at players and and driving us forward. Their end product at the moment is just really not there. Mallard, for me, takes a lot more of those chances, as she did against Brighton in the FA Cup, by the way. She exceptional on that left-hand side in that game, not seen her since, really. So yeah, it's a big frustration. That Hayley Ladd was mentioned in the chat earlier on as well. I don't know what she's got to do to get any minutes at the moment either. Another player that just didn't come on in the game yesterday. And yeah, questions. Lots of questions. We've got an international break coming up, so we're probably going to have another fans forum to dive into this a little bit in more detail, I'm sure, on that one. Does anyone want to just quickly mention the 4th goal? Because I don't want to get on to Aoife Mannion's performance at right back as well. Again, the 4th, I need to watch it back. I can't remember how it happened. I just remember Galton coming off the left, typical Galton fashion, and firing it across to the bottom right, I think. So does anyone want to add anything on that one?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go on.
No, Karen.
I was just going to say, hopefully it's obviously her coming back from injury as well. I think there was a lot of criticism of Galton before she went out injured, and I think hopefully I'm not saying she should be a starter by any means, but I'm hoping that now she comes back from injury, if we can continue to manage her minutes in the way Barry said, maybe she's another player that if things aren't quite clicking, it's worth using her in that. Yeah, and she fell over, but it is what it is. It's worth using her in that kind of impact role if she can come on and she can take real confidence from scoring within minutes on her first game back. Hopefully that I agree with the comments, I don't think she's a 90-minute player anymore, at least not at the moment, but I'm hoping that she can take real confidence from she didn't have long yesterday, but what she did do, she did well. She did a job, she scored a nice goal, really well taken finish. So hopefully that'll just give her confidence as we go into the last few games of the season, and the minutes that she does get, she'll be, raring to go, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair summary on that one. Yeah, I wouldn't be playing for the 90 either. I don't think she's quite well. She's not there yet anyway, and I don't think she has been for the majority of the season. But another player to come off the bench and hopefully get some goals on that one. Right, I want to come to Aoife Mannion before we get to player of the match and a couple of other things to round us off. Barry, I'll come to you because obviously you said we know who you would have put at right back. Mannion did go there, and to be fair, I actually thought she was pretty solid. Going forward defensively, to me, she actually did a pretty good job there. Do you think that's a fair?
Well, Fee said in the preview that Aoife Mannion's not a bad shout at right back because she used to play there before. Do you remember her saying that, Charlie?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just goes to show we only get quality people on this channel because she knew something that we didn't. in that respect, in terms of the fact that Mannion could be good there. My biggest worry is that Aoife Mannion's had 2 ACLs now. She's been injured quite a bit, and we put in a position where you've got to run up and down a wing consistently for 90 minutes. And I didn't feel that was particularly fair. And actually, if you'd have just put her in at centre back for that first half, she could have happily stood there without any dramas whatsoever, because she wouldn't have had to move too much, because they were just standing still and passing the ball across to each other in the hope that Everton were going to come and get them. So, listen, I think she did really well. Is the honest answer. You know, you can't have a go at him for putting people in places when they perform badly, and then not give him credit when he puts them in places and they do well. So, you know, it did turn out to be a good decision. I still found that even though she did all right and she was getting up and down and she did support the attack and the defence, again, a lot of her balls were just little tippy-tappy ones off to people, which was good because, you know, Gary Neville used to do that and helping with the overlap and getting people to bomb down the right was a good thing. So I think she did all right. She did a good job. But again, she was playing against Everton, who didn't have like the biggest competition for her to deal with. If she's in that position against Chelsea, do I think she's going to hold up to it as well as, you know, against Guru Wrighton, for example, that sort of a player? Yeah, it remains to be seen, doesn't it? What we do know is that Aoife Mannion's going to come out there and give it absolutely everything. She's a Rachel Williams style defender. She's blood and thunder. My biggest hope is that, you know, if she does play there, she does do well and we don't lose her to injury again. That's it, really. I'd still rather have Maya out there because I just think she's got the legs. But, you know, at the end of the day, on what we've seen, you wouldn't be upset if you saw her name at right back in 2 weeks' time.
No, it was nice to see her get the full 90. But obviously it was a great performance from her, and it's really nice to see her back. I think an important thing that we get from her is her leadership as well. I think she is an experienced player who has won things, and I think she is a calm head. And we've often at this season been very fraught and very frantic, and I think she will help with that. And help lead with that. I think it's important to have players like her around. Like a bit similar with Barry, my worry for her is how often she's going to be able to play in 90 minutes and whether she will be someone who can do that once a week or again has to be really a bit of a, I don't want to become a bit of a Ledley King character where she can sort of play 45 minutes every 2 weeks and that's all you're going to get. So hopefully she can make a good recovery or as good as she can in the long term. I worry about her going to play international football because she's Ireland's best centre-back, isn't she, now, that she plays for them. And Anna Patton, funnily enough. It's interesting how many players do that, isn't it, that sort of thing. But yeah, just hopefully she can stay fit and they can do some work with her over the summer as well to continue sort of her recovery. Because it's not like we've seen with Leah Williamson, haven't we? It's not like you recover from an ACL and then all is fine. Leah Williamson's had repeated muscle difficulties now around that same area. But just hopefully Aoife can stay fit or not and just occasionally comes back and does a monster performance when we need her, a la Arsenal last season. But yeah, it's great to see her back on the pitch. She's a brilliant character and a great leader, which is key.
Yeah, no, I think there's not, to be fair, much to add to what Charlie and Barry have already said. It was really, really good to see Aoife Mannion getting the 90 minutes, as long as Charlie also said, we are sensible with it, because it's nice to have options at right back when we've got a very injury-prone right back in Jade Riviere. We have also got a very injury-prone right back in Aoife Mannion, not necessarily that she gets knocks that keep her out for 1 or 2 weeks really often, but that every year or so she tears her ACL. So it's important that we sort of manage her minutes coming back, but it is nice to have that kind of flexibility. And I thought she was really strong for us yesterday.
No, for sure. On that, yeah, I agree. As I said before, I think she was solid. No, she isn't. I think she's got 1 more year with us. I think it's next year she's out. So we've got another year for Aoife Mannion to, I guess, establish herself in the first team a little bit more on the regular side. Right. I said 90 seconds. It was actually more like 50. I've ended the player of the match poll. Should we go around who's everyone gone for on the panel then? And then I'll come to what the comments have said.
Lisa Nalsund. Player of the match for me. Nice and quick. There you go.
Yeah, I'll say Nelson as well. I thought she was outstanding yesterday. She contributed a lot.
See, it's what happens when you provide good graphics, isn't it? Because the correct answer is Lisa Nelson.
And full house for me because it would have been Lisa Nelson as well. The comments agree. Lisa Nelson 49%, Ella Toone 26%, Mannion 15%, Garcia on 8%. Fun fact, actually, Lisa Nelson's now on 3 player of the match polls, level with Nikita Paris and Jace. Ella Toone is the only one above her on 4. So as we get towards the end of the season, I don't know how many games we've got left now. 5?
Too many.
Including the FA Cup?
Yeah, including the cup. Is it?
5, including the semi-final, 6 if we get to the final, 4 league games left.
So it'll be interesting to see if anyone overtakes Toone as the top spot for our player of the match polls on this year's match reaction shows. Right, before we wrap this one up, we've got something very important to do. Barry, do you want to run through? If anyone doesn't follow us on Twitter, Barry put 4 tweets out, I think it was, earlier on, being April Fools, on things that I may or may not have said, and if there's any truth behind whether you think it's an April Fool's or whether I actually said it or not.
I'd completely forgotten about that. So we'll take them in reverse order. So part 4, we said the quote was, "If Elvis had hair like Barry, so would I." 31% of you thought that was the sort of thing that Connor would say. 69% of you thought that's the sort of thing I would come up with, and you would be right. It was me. He does not secretly wish that he had hair like me if Elvis was also a baldy. If Bon Jovi were playing, I would shut the window. 58% said that's definitely a Connorism. 42% said false. The 58s get it. That's an actual quote from Connor, and I have the actual proof screenshotted on my phone if anybody ever wants to argue that one. The second one wasn't the greatest. At that point, it was very early in the morning. I was trying to think about it. So you'll know already that it was indeed April Fool's. He didn't say that tea was better than Red Bull. That was 63% of you getting that one right. But the big one, the one that we kicked off with, Queen are the most overrated band ever. Keyword there, ever. 67% of you said that's a Connorism. 33, that's a third of you, actually thought that I'd made that up. And my favourite quote from that was Dan Bateman saying on there, "I really, really want to believe this is an April Fool." But he knew you. All the people that know you know it. This is a genuine thing that Connor has said. Queen are the most overrated band ever.
Connor, you need to stick to football.
I was trying to get emails stuff with me at the time, and Ella, if she's still in the comments as well, and I was trying to get people on side. It was not. Yeah, no. They are. I stand by it. They are. They have not got one song I can go, "Yep, that's a good song." I just think they're just horrendous. To me, I'm making this worse. I know. I stand. That's the one I really stand by, and I will not be moved on that one. Keris is about to lose. Shit, I'm going to get blocked after this. I know it. just
outrageous. I told him that Queen were the Elvis of the 70s and 80s, and he thought that I was having a go at Elvis. It's outrageous.
Just don't put them in the same sentence.
To be fair, Sporty, so did I, but then I did know the answers.
Oh dear. Oh yeah, no one's with me in the call. I didn't think this was going to help my credibility very much. It's not. Hang on, what's going on here? This gives it cut. No, can't believe this. No, no. It's just I've not got a single person with me. I've been waiting to sit.
I disagree with this. Ruud van Nistelrooy or Eric Cantona is probably the greatest front man of all time, but he's a close third.
I mean, yeah, Ella had literally just walked over at that point as well. It was like, "Welcome to the conversation." Oh yeah, I've just said this. Yeah.
Actually, blown my mind that people are still talking to you.
I'm amazed I've got any friends at all after that, to be honest. Yeah, I'm just going to get kicked from my own channel, aren't I? There we are. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And what preceded that was about 15-20 minutes of Mark and Benny just listing bands at me from from the 70s to the 2000s, and yeah, it didn't go very well on that.
So the only way you can leave this, Connor, is by telling us give us one band who is better than Queen.
Could name me like 5. Metallica for one of them. If you want to go down that route, I'd even say I don't even like the Beatles, but I'd say they're better than Queen.
I don't like the Beatles, but they're better than Queen. Oh, he's not even joking.
I'm not.
Anyway, we have a channel to go on to.
I was going to say, we've got another show literally starting in 60 seconds, but I don't know. This is one for another time, I'm sure, on that. Who is my favourite band? Metallica. I saw them live last year. They were exceptional. For anyone who hasn't seen them, recommend it. They're on tour at the moment, so sorry, TJ. Oh, dear. Yeah, I'm going to get banned. Anyway, as I just said, Jess is hosting an Easter quiz, literally in about 60. It's probably not going to be 60. It's going to be more like 5 minutes by the time we get over there and set everything up now. So yeah, yes, exactly. Mia is on that one as well. So go and check us out over there. We've got no idea what's coming. Actually, Jess has been planning this, over there. So it's going to be such a good thing to be a part of. It's interactive as well for you guys in the comments, so make sure you come and hop over to that one, where it's on the All For Women. Literally just type into YouTube All For Women's Football, you'll find us on there. Literally Jess has sold it right there. That's what we need to go and hop over to. Appreciate that, Ema, on that one. It was great to see so many of you yesterday as well, by the way, that came over. I will just quickly go back to this comment right at the start. Enjoy your videos and everything else. Appreciate all of your comments and every nice interaction that we have, whether that's at games, on here, and everything in between. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, all of that kind of stuff. And we should see you guys, hopefully, in about 2 minutes' time on All For Women's Football. See you guys later.